They were, well, this is painful, 5th in the division. That sounds great. Until you find out that they were 11th in the conference and out of a playoff spot. The Calgary Flames finished 18 points behind the next place Vegas Golden Knights. That's how feast or famine the Pacific was.
Wow.
81 points in 82 games for the... It's crazy how quickly this has happened. The descent of the Calgary Flames should be studied because this is a team that was loaded with talent for years and years and years and never quite could get over the hump. But now most of that talent's gone. It's given rise to some new, but there's a lot of question marks. When you look at the Calgary Flames, Steve and Jesse, where do you even want to start? What's the thing?
The thing is no one's left. They're not rebuilding according to them. But like they've lost an insane amount of significant pieces. So, okay, you lose Noah Hannafin. Well, there goes at worst your third best defenseman, maybe your best defenseman. All right. So Dustin Wolf, I think he's going to be really good. Keyword being gonna in there. And then there's Dan Vladar. Who's missing from that? Jake friggin' Markstrom is missing from that equation. Up front, you're missing a big old bunch of guys. Jonathan Huberdeau had a really good back half. I think he could have a really good season. Andrei Kuzmenko, since they got him, he had a really good season. Connor Zary was a pretty good ad for them. I think he's going to have a really good season. They still have Mackenzie Weegar. They still have Rasmus Anderson. Steve, why are you so down on them? They have all that. A hockey roster's 20 guys, man. That's not a lot.
Now,
and they're probably going to ditch at least one of the names I just mentioned.
Yeah, true. Jesse, what are your thoughts when you look at the offense here?
The offense was a little better than it is on the surface. A large part of the reason the offense struggled is just because they couldn't figure out the power play. If you guys want me, I can do something here just to compare Calgary and the Tampa Bay Lightning to illustrate just, like what they were missing last season. So because during last year's regular season, the Calgary Flames and Tampa Bay Lightning had the exact same amount of goals against. Okay. So they allowed the same amount of goals. But they had completely different regular seasons. Obviously, one missed the playoffs by a whole bunch. Tampa was in the playoffs. They allowed the same amount of goals, and if we look at 5-on-5 goals scored, Calgary scored 167 and Tampa scored 172. Really
Pretty
goals
close.
Off on 5-on-5. The difference is Calgary couldn't score at 5-on-4, just 5-on-4 specifically. Tampa led the league with 67 goals at 5-on-4, and Calgary finished 25th with 41 goals at 5-on-4. So if Ryan Huska is able to figure out the Calgary Flames scoring at 5-on-4, they would have the exact same amount of goals against in all situations and the exact same amount of goals as the Tampa Bay Lightning scored. So there's a recipe there for where you figure out the power play and everything is decent if it's repeatable, if everything is repeatable from last season. And the only hiccup I have is repeating everything else from last season. Large reason you have the same amount of goals against from Tampa is because you had Jacob Markstrom. Yep. You're relying on Dustin Wolf, who is an unknown because he hasn't played a significant amount in the NHL. You also sold off a lot at the trade deadline and throughout the entire season. So I think there is a better team here at the core in that if they had a decent power play, they would actually been competing for a wild card spot last year. But I don't see a lot of the parts like scoring at 5-on-5 and not allowing the same amount of goals being repeatable to the same extent. So I think they'll be okay, but not great.
Do that decor.
Yeah, you're missing a lot.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the decor, by the way, is Weegar, Daniel Miramanov, Kevin Ball, Rasmus Anderson, who we're not sure, but there's a lot of trade rumors there.
I don't think he ends the season with the team.
Jake Bean and Braden Paschal right now, but I want to throw this at you guys.
A lot of inexperience.
If we're talking about power play points, one guy that had 17 of his 59 was Igor Sharangovich, who was traded for Tyler Toffoli. 31 goals, 59 points, and a minus 29. Listen, plus minus.
It was really good for them.
Plus minus isn't a great stat,
No.
but when it gets goofy, you might want to pay attention to it.
Stars on teams that don't do well don't tend to have good plus minus.
That's also a good point.
Right.
So if do you think that's repeatable for a guy like Sharangovich?
I do, because we spent the first half of last year talking about, like, dude, you have to move heaven and earth to solve the Jonathan Huberdeau problem. And they did it. With I wouldn't have been like, yeah, Yegor Sharangovich, there's the guy. But they put them together and they were actually pretty magic. And they changed each other's the trajectory of each other's NHL careers. So that could be a very big thing for them.
I wonder about a player like Blake Coleman. You know, last year they traded a lot of guys who, and Blake Coleman, by the way, brought in from the Stanley Cup winning Tampa Bay Lightning to inject some nastiness and some playoff experience, which he's not going to get likely with the Flames this year. Signed a 6-year deal. He's 2 years into it. They traded a lot of guys on expiring deals last year or with a year left to go. Blake Coleman, a guy that gets moved this year?
He 100% could be. It feels, after those runs with Tampa, it feels weird to see him not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was, if I remember correct, like a fairly big part of Calgary's run where they had the Battle of Alberta and everything. I just don't understand why they're insisting that this isn't a rebuild. Because it feels like the reason we're bringing up, like, could this guy get moved? Could that guy get moved? Is everyone ahead of them has been moved. Right?
I think it might be a little bit with the contract that Blake Coleman has before he gets moved. It's 4.9 for this season, next season, and a year after. Still got 3 full seasons left on the deal, so I think it'll be a little bit.
Yeah,
but like,
if it was 2, I might be like, oh yeah, but no.
Yeah, the thing that Calgary has that other rebuilding teams don't is still star players, quote, in their early 30s. You know, you have Kadri, you have Huberdeau, you have those 2 big pieces that you acquired for stars that didn't want to be there anymore. And I think there's still a belief that they can build something there. It's just that it just might naturally go into the rebuild if there's no success. But it seems like there's a clear path forward for the coaching staff and Ryan Huska. It's like, if you can turn these guys into somewhat of goal scorers, like if you can just generate offense and then have Dustin Wolf play like a very good starting goaltender, there's a path to not being in the depths of the NHL.
The Flames are a little bit, at this time in 2024, a little bit like last year's Buffalo Sabres.
Yes.
Where a lot of us looked at them and went, okay, they're kind of interesting and they're young, but this goalie coming in, Devin Levi, is going to change the friggin' game. I think Adam and I had them second in the
me too.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah, I think all of us did.
Come on. And Levi played how many games and wasn't even playing regularly until after the new year. Dustin Wolf is a fascinating thing. I looked at that when Markstrom left. I'm like, okay, so who are they replacing him with? You got Dan Vladar and it's just Dan Vladar and Dustin Wolf? Okay, it's a lot of pressure to put on the kid. Let's see how he does.
A guy that I think is looking for a resurgent year and probably is going to see a lot of minutes is Anthony Mantha. He had 44 points last year, which is the most since 2018-2019 when he was with the Red Wings. This guy is known for his wheels, hasn't worked out basically wherever he's gone, to the point where, you know, to the level they thought they were getting when Detroit picked him 20th overall 10 years ago. What does Anthony Mantha bring to this team, and what can he stand benefit out of it?
6'5" frame you park in front of the net on every power play.
There you go.
I don't think he's going to be. I think every GM looks at a player that big and they go, he's going to score 1 million goals and beat the hell out of anyone who gets in his way. That's just not the player he is, but he can put up points. That's a good signing for them. And someone who is deceptively good, deceptively fast, deceptively offensively gifted. I don't think the numbers will agree, but every time I watch him play, I go, damn, that guy can play hockey.
Yeah.
The Lamborghini.
He's there.
Ryan Lomberg. I think it's a huge cop-out to be like, well, vibes matter. But damn, they've been horrible in Calgary in the last couple of years. And Ryan Lomberg, they're paying him a decent amount of money for a guy who wasn't in the lineup every night in Florida. $2 million a year, worth every penny.
Mantha and Lomberg are a part of this little collection I see in Calgary, along with Coleman and Backlund, of vets who have been around who are getting a chance on a team that's kind of on the downswing. And who knows if they can outperform expectations, but there's a solid group of veteran hockey players. It's not like they're just running out young players and saying, we completely tore it down like we're the Arizona Coyotes and we're just running 20-year-olds out there all the time.
Or the Sabres for a decade.
Or the Sabres. Yeah, they have these guys all in their late 20s / early 30s who are being given a chance. And it's not just young kids.
And 3 names to watch are Jacob Pelletier, who just signed a two-way deal with the Flames. Matt Coronado, they need to know what they have there. And obviously, we've mentioned him a couple times, Dustin Wolf. Now, the over-under for points.
And Tyson Barrie.
Oh, PTO.
PTO Barrie.
He's making it. They're signing him.
There's a greater than 0 chance.
Toronto Maple Leaf, great.
Flame.
That would help your power play.
So the Flames had 81 points last year. The betting odds from BetMGM are set at 81.5. Over under for the Calgary Flames. In fact, talking about the Flames with you guys, I feel better about them than I did coming into this 10 minutes ago. But still, 81.5. What do we go? Over or under? And what position do you have them in the division?
I'm taking over.
You're taking over.
And I have them in 6th.
You and I will have the exact same thing then. Over and 6th.
I have them under, and I have them in 7th because I believe in the Seattle Kraken.
And goaltending's just a huge...
It's a question.
It's an unknown, Vladar and Wolf. Yeah.
As we learned last year with Devin Levi, until they've done it, they haven't done it. I learned my lesson.
Those two might be 1 and 2 in the Vezina conversation going forward, but you got to get there first.
Absolutely. So that is your Flames 10-minute-ish preview.